I guess it was because my sister said it that I trust in her, and then I realized that the news were real, because had anyone else told me, I would have refused to believe that. I would have just refused to believe the news, yes. I was quite sad for a while, well, maybe for 10 minutes. But yeah, I had to sit down and process the news. Mm-hmm. Yeah, how did you react to the news?
I was surprisingly sad. Well,
me too.
I didn't really expect to care that much, but it feels like the end of something, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yes, that's because it was the end of something.
It certainly was.
Yeah, me too. I was more affected than well. See, no, I mean, was I expecting? Well, I mean, I was not surprised that I felt sad, but I was surprised the extent to which I felt sad.
Yeah.
Felt very human as a moment. The family arriving and stuff. I don't know. It just felt very, very personal and very real and very sad. Sad time for the family.
Yes. Wow.
I heard some news that I think they were running out of things to talk about, and they said that the British Embassy in Washington, D.C. had opened its doors to visitors who wanted to pay their respects, and dozens of people had signed the visitors' book that morning alone. I thought, this isn't really news, is it?
Literally dozens, you say?
Literally dozens.
Wow.
Which presumably means less than 100.
Yeah.
Oh, she was an active participant in colonialism. I have to point that out.
I don't think she was an active participant in anything, was she?
Oh, well, I mean, if you condone something in such a highly ceremonial and public ritual way...
I see what you mean. Yeah,
I feel like you're quite active then.
She simply did whatever the government told her to, didn't she?
Yeah. But
she never prevented anyone from gaining independence, though. Not publicly, anyway. Maybe in private. I don't know what she did in private. But
she's overseen the complete deconstruction of the British Empire, hasn't she?
Well, I think too late, Lizzie.
She wasn't alive when it was in time, though. Can't blame her, personally.
That's okay. You're allowed to mention colonialism.
Thank you. Speaking of which...
I'm in. I'm ready.
Great.
Will we be playing God Save the Queen as the entry music to honour Her Majesty?
It would somehow be appropriate, wouldn't it?
Would it?
And would we be
I think that's a hard sell for Laura.
7 minutes of silence, 1 minute for each decade of service?
I think that's a very good idea.
I think I'm just going to play this over you now. So you haven't said anything.
Very good. Well, it's been a long time coming, but Laura, you chose The Bounty this week.
I did. How exciting.
I'd say it's been a long time coming. I would say it's been a very short time coming. Like 70 years to a short.
A long, long time.
Since they created this movie in 1986, we've that started the road to us having this discussion. And The Bounty.
The Bounty. And you broke the cardinal rule of Film Club, Michael. Tell me you were enjoying it.
Yes.
Michael.
I'm sorry, I sent you a message very early on just because I feel like if there's ever been any strife and trouble in this film club, it is the increasing social division between bounty lovers and bounty haters. And I feel that it's a big decision when we pick another bounty film. And I wanted to back you up on that decision, so I just sent Laura a quick message saying I'm loving this so far. That was early on, though.
Yeah.
And I have complex opinions on this film. How did you like it, Laura?
Also, like, from the beginning, was like, oh, this is brilliant. This is a bit... But slowly, by the end, I was like, actually, yeah.
Yeah.
Not sold. Not 100% sold. Not the film I remember. I don't really remember much, but having now seen the 1962 version, just what could compare? Honestly.
I quite agree.
What could compare?
Claire, how did you experience The Bounty?
This was my favourite Mutiny on the Bounty genre
God.
of film.
Okay.
Well, that's a
Of
surprise.
all the mutinies on all the bounties, this was my favourite one to watch.
Okay, that's interesting. This
That's
is going to be
very
good.
interesting.
How about you, Fernando?
I think I concur with Claire. I think this one was my favorite. It's my favorite so far. Also, the easiest to watch. As in, I did not even have to turn on the subtitles.
Okay.
Is that because we know the story by heart now, though?
Yeah, maybe I knew the script by heart. What else? I also read the Wikipedia article for the film, and it turns out that these are not the only 3 movies that have been made of this story. I think there are 2 others. So I just feel like we have to watch them now. And
Yeah.
we've come this far,
Well.
we have to go to the finish line.
Don't you worry about that. Okay, so 2 people saying best bounty film so far.
Does that mean you
That
liked
doesn't mean
it?
that it is good, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, okay. That's a subtle distinction. What do you reckon, Claire? Good film?
Yeah, I thought it was quite good. In fairness, I did quite like the first film we watched.
Oh, yes.
Whatever one that was.
Clark Gable,
Yeah.
That was just
Yeah.
called Mutiny on the Bounty.
Mutiny
the
on
one
the
that-
Bounty,
The one that didn't
1935.
have Prince Philip in it
Yeah.
as Fletcher Christian. Yeah, I thought it was good. I thought it was a little slow. I did feel a lot of it dragged out, but I liked the format. I liked the opening and the trial, and telling the story that way. And I liked that they tried to tell us something about Bly's motivation rather than just being, oh, the captain's a dickhead and Fletcher Christian's not film. At least they tried to get into it a little bit.
Yes, we had a very different Bly.
But yeah, it was good, maybe good, on the verge of good.
Interesting.
Good adjacent.
Yeah, like 315.
Yes, thank you. Fernando, good film or just the best of a bad bunch?
Well, I just don't know. I like that it was different from the previous ones. And I feel like I'm now invested in the history of the bounty. I
That's
need to
good
know
news.
more now.
Oh, fantastic news.
I've read that this is the most historically accurate film. I'm also wondering, why was this a story that needed to be told several times? Why was this chosen to be made into a film 5 times? This feels like it's so important, and perhaps as important as the Bible. And I wish to know.
You said it.
I wish to know why. As in, why was this episode so? Why was this episode in history so important?
Yeah, and I think we could see why from just the drama and the excitement of these films that we've seen. That idea of a group of men pushed to breaking point, but also a slight historical mystery that we'll never really know which of these was the true account. You know, how hard did Bly push them, and how noble were the motives of the mutineers? How well did they treat the Tahitians? There's a lot of open questions here that we can speculate and we can say something from our historical knowledge, but we never quite know. And so that it's that tantalizing filling in of a historical blank that I think is what makes it interesting for me.
Open question. An open question. Can questions be closed? Yes, I guess they can.
When they're fully answered.
When is a question ever fully answered?
Yeah, if it's something like Ben-Hur, I think that gave us the definitive answer to what happened to Jesus.
Oh, fair enough then.
Can an answer be
Thank you.
Maybe not.
closed and open at the same time?
Ah, like a set. Right. How do we dig into this then?
I don't know.
First
Who's Team Bly?
impressions,
Who's Team
perhaps.
Christian?
Who's Team Bly? Who's Team Christian? Could anybody be Team Christian in this film?
Good question.
I wasn't.
I could see how you could be.
Oh, he was awful.
Yeah, well, he fell in love with someone, which was stupid, given the circumstances, but I suppose can't necessarily be helped. But yeah, Bly started treating him really badly and being really awful to him, and then he responded to that. Maybe overreacted to that, but so did Bly to what Christian was doing.
But Bly surely tried to be gentle, tried to give him the best chance he could, right?
Did he?
Yeah,
He invited him
he
to
let
dinner.
him away with a lot, and he said, yeah, would you please join me for dinner? And he said, no. And he said, join me for dinner. We need, and then during that dinner said, I can forgive this. We can forget about it. He gave him he extended a lot of olive branches, and Christian didn't take any of them.
Yeah.
He did perhaps take it too far.
Yeah, I just think that maybe Bly was being unreasonable in his requests. Asking him to come on board for dinner maybe doesn't seem like that big a deal, but the way he phrased it was like, you've not dined with me in months. It was very, very jealous and petulant. I'd be a bit like, well, stuff you, I'm going to stay here with my pregnant wife. If you're going to be all petty like that. I don't think he was particularly awful. I didn't think so.
Okay. It seemed that he abandoned all of his responsibilities. He had a duty of loyalty to his captain and to the ship which would have been especially keenly felt in the time period. And he just fucked the whole thing off without any real reason.
Like Bly said, though, that's kind of his fault. He should have had more. I think he realised that going on. He'd lost control. He'd let them all slip into that way of living, which was always going to be very difficult to get them back on board a boat.
Yeah. That's their fault still, though. Perhaps he'd have been wiser to be a bit stricter with them, but in the end it was the strictness that caused them to mutiny.
Well, it was him trying to regain control that caused the problem. If he'd kept control from the start, it wouldn't have been so bad.
But then that would have involved him telling them they're not allowed to go and see the dancing, and they're not allowed to, hang out with all the beautiful women on the island and eat the fruit and stuff. And it would have been very tough.
Yeah.
It seemed like they all had unlimited shore leave. So if I was a Navy captain, my God.
I'd have wanted to be able to do that.
It
would be very cruel, or it would seem very cruel to have them, because they were there for months, to have them sleeping on the ship and everything in this beautiful paradise in the heat. I could really identify with Bly in that. And yes, it was good after all that we've talked about, twice, about how Bly has been misportrayed in these different adaptations, and actually he was one of the kindest and most lenient officers in the Navy at the time. To have this picture of him actually losing control because he was too lenient is so different from what we saw in those first two films we watched, and I thought was very interesting.
Yeah, I found
that
that
was
a
one of the
lot
best
more
things.
plausible as a story.
Well, I thought, so I thought they gave Bly great motivation for everything he did. I could really fits with his character, all that. But what I thought they didn't fill out was Christian motivation well enough. It was just a bit, I don't know. Why are you doing any of this? You just don't like being shouted at. Is that your...
Yeah, it's just being petulant and being aggressive, and we didn't we didn't get enough time with him to see what was going on in his head, did we?
Yeah, that's what I thought this version didn't do well enough, the justification for the mutiny.
Yeah.
Like, the last two were very clear. This one felt like an overprivileged man just taking it badly that he was being shouted at a lot.
Yeah. And maybe that's the truth of the matter. I mean, he was 21-year-old from, I think we're meant to think, pretty sort of upper-class background. Maybe he was just a bit of a child, a bit petulant. Yeah. Apparently, eyewitness accounts to the mutiny said that Fletcher Christian was extremely agitated during the mutiny, and I think Mel Gibson's performance captured that. He was just losing his mind. But it wasn't as satisfying to watch, was it? It wasn't as interesting a character portrayal, just someone getting really angry because it's hot and throwing the captain off.
Yeah, you're not rooting for them to mutiny in this one.
No.
Or I wasn't.
Well, from the very start, we see the mutineers. We've complained in these previous ones about how much the mutineers have been sort of glamorized. In this, they were a real gang of thugs, weren't they? We saw right from the very start of the film where, like, they get into that fight and they end up just beating the shit out of that guy while they play the fiddle so the officers don't find out. Yeah, just awful, evil bullies. And that, again, made us feel very differently about Bligh and how hard he was pushing them. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was very good exposition. Like foreshadowy.
Yeah. Set up the characters very clearly, didn't it? Yes,
it did. Which I think is, again, like they did that to try and be realistic. These were not proper sailors that they had. They were, press ganged or released from prison recently and stuff like that. It was doomed to fail from the beginning.
Wow.
I still quite like them, though. Like, I liked Liam Neeson.
Yeah.
Even though I didn't understand most of the stuff that he did.
So Liam Neeson was one of the first ones that
Churchill.
Escaped, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Churchill. Yeah, I didn't like him, but I thought he played the character well.
Yeah, I thought he was quite compelling.
I couldn't really bring myself to care that much, though.
Neither did the film. We never even found out what happened to him.
No, there was a lot we sort of left untouched, wasn't there? What happened on all these other islands? We sort of get this 2-minute scene where Bligh's getting, like, bothered by the islanders on this other place, and the mutineers just sort of sail around for a bit and swear at each other and then eventually land.
Yeah, it really lost pace for me after they did the mutiny.
Yeah, I just didn't really care about anything after that. Anyone else get bored towards the end of this film?
Yeah, I got quite bored at points.
Yeah.
Well, we've seen it twice.
Yeah. But those other films, there was some kind of conflict. Shall we burn the ship? Where shall we land? What can we do? Whereas this one, I hated it. It seemed like a particularly manufactured thing where we had the men were maybe going to mutiny against Christian as well. And actually the situation was like, right, we can't go anywhere or we're going to die. Fletcher Christian's got an idea about somewhere they could go. No one else has any idea at all. And yet they're all being like, oh, shit, Christian, if this doesn't work out, you're for it. And like glaring at him and him having to stay awake with a gun pointed at them to get them to go to this island. What if he just said, okay, what's your idea? This is my secret island I've discovered. Where's yours? But they didn't even address that. It just seemed like, oh, let's just show that it's fraught on board and let's come up with a story that makes it sound fraught. I wasn't that interested.
Well, the rest of the mutineers wanted to go back to Tahiti, right?
Yeah.
Which is
ridiculous. That right? Yeah, they'd been slung off Tahiti, and that was the very first place everyone was going to go looking for them. No, I see your point.
In real life, like how many of them? Like 16 of them did stay on Tahiti.
Yeah, and they were all hanged, right?
I think only 4 were hanged.
4 were hanged.
I can't remember what happened to the rest. Something happened to the rest. I think 2 just died, maybe.
Yeah.
A few were pardoned. A few of them were the ones who wanted to go with Bligh but couldn't, so they obviously stayed with Tahiti. But yeah, they must have had like 12 who mutinied who decided to stay on Tahiti. And I think, most of them just got recaptured.
Yeah.
Wait, they were hanged
I'd have liked a bit more of that.
by the British government?
Yeah.
I think so.
Wow. So they were taken back to England, judged, and found, I guess, guilty of a crime?
Yes.
Mutiny.
But then I thought they were people who did not want to participate in the mutiny and simply couldn't go with Captain Bligh because there was no more space.
They were
Some
pardoned.
of them as well.
They weren't hanged, they were pardoned.
Okay.
But they still had to go back in the
chose
prison.
to stay. Like the young officer, he said, "I'm going to stay here." As Bligh, not Bligh, Christian was leaving. A few of them said, "I'm just going to wait here to face justice or whatever," which seemed like a strange decision.
So, being are they called Marines? Being a Marine, being a person with the Royal Navy, it's not like any other sailor. It's not like any other job where you can just decide when you want to quit.
No, I don't think so.
I think you're signed on for a voyage at least.
But what if you
really I think a lot of them they had press gangs.
What if you really like the place where you're going and then you fall in love and it's just so far away and you really want to stay there?
Then you have to commit mutiny. So that didn't happen very often. I think people just had miserable lives where they didn't get to do the things that they wanted to do.
Yeah, you have to make sure the ship gets back.
Yeah.
It was quite on the nose, the conclusion of the film, which is that the courts exonerated Captain Bligh with a big speech. And it felt almost like in that first film where they put the text up on the screen saying, "This is the moral of the story." We need to, it was very clear. It was like they said, if you didn't get what we've been trying to say with this film, here is Laurence Olivier to really rub it in and explain Captain Bligh was not to blame.
Oh, lovely Bligh. There's a little tear running down his face, swelling music. Very difficult to be like, what a bad egg this time, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a bit difficult not to laugh at him sometimes, though. His performance was kind of all over the place.
Oh, do you think? I thought he did very well.
It was good a lot of the time, but sometimes I thought, did he overdo it a bit? Sort of hammed it up.
I'm replacing Mr. Fryer with Mr. Christian, who will now act as executive second in command with the rank of acting second lieutenant. Mr. Fryer, come back here. Mr. Fryer, sir, come back here! We'll dismiss when I have done with you, sir. Do you hear me?
This is an outrage.
Mr. Fryer.
In all my years at sea.
Your years at sea? Good Lord, man. If I'd known your nature, I would not have accepted you as bosun of a river barge.
Must I suffer this before the
You will suffer my correction whenever you're at fault, sir.
What fault?
God damn your eyes, man! You turned your back on me!
Oh, for that I apologize.
Very well.
But I protest.
You protest, do you?
I am master of the boat.
And I, sir, am commander! By law! I am the first! Do you understand? God damn your hide! And now you may dismiss, sir.
Mr. Fry, sir! Come back here, sir! Damn your eyes! It's incredible, salty sailor talk. You turn your back on me, man! God damn your eyes, sir! But he really kept that up. Like, there was a lot of that in this film. The mutiny scene was just chaos. I couldn't believe it.
Oh, yeah, I know. I was...
Purcell, get over here! Stay there, Purcell! Stay, Purcell! Stay, your mouth! Alison, get over here! Get over here! Shut up! Get over here! I'm staying here! Fill the fucking hell out! I didn't even, you sodding bastard! You take your hands off him! Take your hands off him now! Kill him! Get your hands off him! Now! Mr. Mr. Christian, I appeal to you, sir. For despite this madness, and all be forgotten, I give you my word.
It's too late. It's too late.
Think of my family and my friendship. Think of my wife.
I am in hell! Hell, sir! Why are you being so damned reasonable now?
All of them just scream, I am in hell! I'll run you through, damn your blood! It just felt quite, okay, yeah, it would have been a chaotic time, but you need to give us something we can cling on to. It's like, I don't know, in crappy fantasy films, when there's a battle, they'll just like shake the camera around lots and just have loads of just carnage on the screen. And then in Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers, they have this like well-constructed battle where they show you Helm's Deep and they progress the story, and there's excitement, but they stage it enough that you can follow what's going on and do something with it. And I felt like that was what I needed from the particularly Trevor Howard and Marlon Brando giving these little soliloquies while this mutiny was going on. And it was all a little bit slower and a little bit more controlled, and that made for something I could follow a bit better.
You got the sense that they were really pleased with themselves, so they're like, "Oh yeah, what a moment of emotion."
Yes,
Dance.
It felt like somebody
Dreadful.
had nailed it, and then someone else was like, could we just turn it up a little bit more? Let's have him shout a bit longer. Do you know what? Put some eye makeup on him so he looks really, really pissed off. Yeah, I don't know. Bit much.
I did like Bly's accent, though.
It's
However,
quite good.
he was cowardly and insubordinate. I did not put that further. He did. Go around the horn.
He was all right, but I don't know. Apparently Anthony Hopkins said he hated the film. He thought the film was a total mess.
Botch job.
Yeah. Which is, he said something like, it was a turning point in my entire career where I just stopped caring. It's quite tough.
Quite something. I mean, he must have grown up on the Trevor Howard version.
I wonder. Well, what was
not
he?
grown up on it, but
40 in this? So yeah, it might have come out when he was a young man.
Yeah.
He must have seen it as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It had real potential.
It did, didn't it?
I don't know where did they go so wrong? Because I really think one where Bly's the sort of the sympathetic character and Christian's the one that you just don't like very much, or is a good idea, but they just faltered.
Probably tried to go too naturalistic.
Yeah,
and maybe had a bit of a committee making big decisions.
Yeah, it felt a bit like it wasn't sure if it was an epic or not. And it kind of just settled on not being a proper film and not being a full-on epic. So it was just in this middle ground where they hadn't really committed to the long, drawn-out scenes and really getting you into the mood with them. Instead, it was just a normal scene that was just dragged out a bit. And I was like, all right, well, I mean, this could have been done in half the time.
Yeah. Would we compare it perhaps to The Count of Monte Cristo? Another film that Laura remembers being really, really epic and amazing, and it actually fell a little bit flat.
I think that's a great comparison.
That 2.5 hour, doesn't quite know what it is type thing, where either they needed to make it a trimmed down, focused story, or they needed to expand and really have you explore everything. Like, explore what was going on with Tahiti. I don't really know what the king was thinking, or like, what did he like them by the end? Was he just sad that they were leaving? Was he really angry with them? Had his whole view of the world changed? Because like, if he thought they were kind of faintly divine, and he obviously had so much respect for Captain Cook, there was a lot going on there. We could have had some scenes that were just the islanders talking to each other, and we could have had, I don't know, but we just didn't really see that, and they started to give us this hint of, well, they were actually pretty rotten to the islanders, and that these islanders were really being exploited in some ways, but they didn't. But that's as far as they went, and they didn't,
I was
show the subtleties of that.
I thought this might actually have been the most racist. Oh yeah, go on.
How does history know the King in Tahiti's reaction to Fletcher returning to the island or Tahiti?
Oh, they totally made that up for this film, which I'm surprised about, given they wanted to make it more accurate. Because we know that the mutineers lied to the Tahitians.
Yeah, how do we know then? Oh, because if there were people that stayed. No, yes.
There was at least writing from the time. Again, you never quite know exactly how accurate it was, but yeah, there were people who stayed behind, and there were other people who visited Tahiti later on and could have, learned these stories, and the Tahitians themselves would have had some
version of it,
some memory of this. But yeah, it's a little unclear. But yeah, certainly the Wikipedia conclusion is that they did return to the island and were like, oh yeah, so we just dropped Bligh off and we've come back to do some more work for His Majesty's Royal Navy. How is everything? And it was only later on that he found out about the mutiny that had happened. And I think they did return again and were not as warmly welcomed, right?
Yeah.
But then did stick around for a while, and it's just, so much going on there that would have been interesting to see. But instead we had more moody establishing shots of rugged coves and with fucking synth music. Oh my God.
Synth.
From the very start, that's my first note I've got here is like, this is meant to be an epic, and they've got men at work to do the soundtrack.
It was the 80s, Michael.
Yeah.
That was the epic music.
Yeah, I suppose so. Thank
brilliant.
God they didn't get Queen to do it, right? But yeah, it's just trash. Again, comparing it, as we must, to the 60s, this sort of John Williams style soundtrack, yeah.
We should go through the film and pick Queen songs to fit every moment.
Brilliant.
I think we should do. Oh, you don't know any Queen songs? I forgot about that.
Under Pressure would go well with the scene of mutiny.
You're quite right.
Oh my God. Yeah, just him getting closer to snapping, and it's going ding 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 ding.
Somebody should remake this.
The thing is, then we're getting too close to David Bowie appearing as one of the characters, and then we've got to have Muppets, and then it's just all gone a bit. Oh, the Muppets Mutiny on the Bounty! Finally, a third Muppet movie based on a classic novel. Oh, this would be perfect. Oh, who would all the Muppets be?
Oh, brilliant. Well, Fletcher Christian would be Kermit. Not in this version, but
that's
I think generally.
If it was a sympathetic...
Yeah,
that's who the hero was.
Yeah.
So the Muppets Treasure Island had a human playing Long John Silver, and Kermit was Captain Smollett. Maybe something like that would work, where like the could Christian be Kermit, and then they could have like a person play. It doesn't sound right, does it? Would it be
Kermit
Sam
will be
Eagle?
the King in Tahiti.
I think would have to be Bligh.
Oh, brilliant.
Oh, he would be the king. Oh, I think would the Tahitians all be like the pigs? There's always like a huge gang of pigs that just appear for some reason that probably wouldn't get past sort of modern sensibilities.
No.
Let's say they're all pigs.
I don't think that would work.
But the pigs are cute in the Muppets.
Still.
Yeah, probably couldn't get it. Maybe Kermit would be the king of Tahiti.
Yeah.
Nah, he's got to feature a lot more.
Yeah,
Kermit's
you're
got
right.
to be the main star.
Although we are really missing a bounty version where it's from the Tahitians' perspective.
Yeah.
They never get a voice.
What would it be called? Because it probably wouldn't be called Mutiny on the Bounty. It would be called like...
Visit from the Bounty.
Visit from the Bounty. Brilliant. Yeah. Subtitle: Visit from the Bounty, : those damn British.
You'll be darned.
Those darned British, yeah. Oh, can't wait. No, I don't think there's a good Muppet translation.
But then, I suppose I think you've got to do Fletcher Christian has to be Kermit, maybe. Miss Piggy would be my meaty.
She'd have to be, wouldn't she?
No, she would be Bligh, because she's in love with Kermit, isn't she?
Oh, and Kermit's in love with someone else. Yeah, yeah.
and she's irrational and not a great leader. And yeah, no, Miss Piggy's Bly.
Wow.
This man will be killed! Hiya!
Perfect. I think Beaker's obviously the naturalist, or whatever.
Oh, you'd have to have the two of them, right? Professor,
Yeah.
what's his name, and Beaker doing work
Yeah,
on
which one's the
breadfruit.
alcoholic doctor?
Alcoholic doctor. He would be the dog, Ralph. And he's always cracking jokes at inopportune moments. I think we could do something with this.
I think the King of Tahiti would be... Oh, who were those old men who are just sarcastic all the time?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, great. Yeah.
This has got promise.
Yeah, I think we could do something with it. We should write to... Oh, it's Walt Disney now, isn't it? That's probably not going to happen.
They might do it. Get some low-down person to just add it onto a spreadsheet.
Maybe while you're there,
Make it
Laura,
right.
you could like a little word with.
You know, I was on the Muppets 3D Vision the other day.
Yeah.
Oh, dear. Awful.
Perfect.
So maybe, does this bring us on then? Because I knew we had to get here eventually. This tension between Bly and Christian. This is the first version of this we've seen where I think there might be something in the homosexual subtext.
Do you think?
I think it was blatant in this film.
What?
Yeah.
Hang on, are we doing... Is this symbolism?
Yeah. Why not?
Okay.
I love
Take
the
your
sound
time.
of the foot being flipped.
Yay. Yeah, I thought something about the way that Bly was so personally hurt by Christian's betrayal of him and Christian's distancing from him seemed to hint at a kind of love for him. Did you see that, Claire?
Oh yeah, I thought it was just that's the story they were telling just without saying it, that he was furiously jealous, and that's part of the reason he turned into such a angry, upset person.
Wow.
Yeah.
Was sort of mean, making Christian put his jacket on over his sore tattoos because he hated to see that he was losing Christian.
Well,
I thought that
that's
was
very
good. He wanted Christian, even if it wasn't what Christian wanted.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was just like the very deliberate subtext, not so subtext.
I mean, I thought
so.
it was on the nose when they were having them have a conversation about what Christian had been up to, and Christian bit back and he was like, "It's more natural than men who have nothing to restrain."
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sort of attacking him for his asexuality and his lack of lust somehow, isn't he?
Very,
Which is particularly hurtful because he is restraining himself.
Yeah.
It's restraining his love for Christian.
Yeah.
Basically. Yeah, I thought that was an interesting thread to the film and not overdone. I thought it was good.
Yeah, it's part of the reason I liked this version, because it gave very clear motivation for why he was being such an arse to Christian.
God, I just did not pick up on that.
Wow, I thought that was usually your... What happened? Maybe we're barking up the wrong tree. Maybe we need to take things a bit more literally.
This is why we need to film our own version of the mutiny.
I quite agree.
Stated explicitly in the script. I am homosexual. And I am in love with confliction.
We could have a Morgan Freeman voiceover. The captain of the ship, a gay man named... No, it's tricky. Still, I'm glad, Fernando, that you've you've become so interested in this historical episode.
Really bodes well.
Yeah,
for the next one.
if you want to be a part of the 20-part podcast series that Laura and I are planning to make, exploring all aspects of the incident.
Why are you making such a short podcast? We should have 300 episodes on it.
Excellent. Well, I'm glad we've got you on board. We'll talk details some other time.
Is this the only example of mutiny in the history of the Royal Navy?
Yeah, probably.
It was getting close to it, right? Like there were other examples, but it was nearly unheard of at this time, which I think is another reason it was such a big deal. I think in years gone by, earlier, when there wasn't such a sort of professional aspect to the force, it would get a bit more like that. But no, at this time it was unheard of. Yeah. What other notes have we got?
Did you think this was... now I can't really remember the previous versions, but I thought this was a bit racist.
There was one bit in particular that got me.
Oh yeah, what was that?
The dangerous, nasty savages on the second island they were on. That it felt a bit like the mutiny scene. There was just this chaotic madness that appeared to control everybody in the scene, but particularly, these people who were like jumping around, chanting,
oh god, yeah,
and laughing at them. They weren't behaving like humans; they were behaving like animals. And so we know that there were hostile islanders in these areas sometimes, but I just can't bring myself to believe that they acted like that. And particularly if they ever acted like that, it was for some reason that we ought to have learned a bit more of. Yeah, that it was just the scene with the savage islanders that acted erratically and yelled at them and murdered one of them. And yeah, that was poor. Even Tahiti, I thought they needed a bit more time. It wasn't so bad, but What did you think?
Oh, we do. Again, we just don't get really any depth of any time with Tahitians, anything from their perspective. They're just happy savages in this version. I thought at least they gave King Taina a bit of humanity by the end, where he was upset that his daughter was leaving, but that's being generous.
Yeah, and it was just that he was upset his daughter was leaving. They could have, had what enormous changes did he see in his kingdom in the 6 months that the mutineers were there? Must have been so much that could have been said about the way he was, the ruler of this island and the people's opinions and views within it. You could ask for too much, but I'm asking for something, a little something. Even I thought the 60s version was a little better for that. They seemed to humanise the characters a little bit better.
This one was more like breast.
Yes, we got a lot of boobs, didn't we? I don't know what happened between 1962 and 1986, but somebody, I don't know if that was the Hays Code being lifted or something. They were like, don't worry, guys, we don't have to hint at breasts anymore. And again, fine. Like my understanding is that was accurate at that time.
I think
I feel like the camera didn't have to linger quite as much.
Yeah,
that's the
it wasn't the only thing that happened on the island.
It's like each shot was framed nicely just to capture them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it was a bit of a shame. And again, so in well, we knew I was going to do this. We knew I was going to go on about the version from the 60s. There was a scene with them fishing. There was a scene with them dancing. There was a scene with them talking about this or that. There was a bit more variety in that rather than just, and he had boobs. Here you go.
Would you have mutinied?
I hope you enjoy this scene, lads. It was a bit more like maybe there's a story here.
I feel like that was the effort to get it down to 6 reels. Was we'll cut out that interesting bit. We just want like just the protein, just the tension, just the boobs. And yeah, you really missed out on a lot of, there were a lot of characters to learn about. They introduced a lot of characters and didn't necessarily tell you a lot about most of them.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I get, as I say, yeah, trying to be an epic, but also trying to be a normal, sub 2 hour film, and just failing on both accounts.
Yeah. Having said all this, you liked it better than Trevor Howard and Marlon Brando?
Yes. Oh, yeah.
And
lot better.
Clark Gable and Charles Lawton. Did you?
Yeah, I liked how they went into Bly's motivation in this one a lot more.
Yeah.
I feel like he was a lot more relatable as a character and a lot more nuanced. And I don't know. I think that Christian didn't come across to me as just out of order and terrible.
No, they did sympathise with him. He wasn't totally demonised. I mean, showing us at the end that he gives this noble, he doesn't lie to them. I think we're meant to, he's winning some favour with us.
I also think he was mistreated by Bly. He was sort of given this position that he never really asked for, and then Bly held him to a standard that he hadn't made clear he expected, and then was treated quite cruelly at points and reacted badly to that. I feel like Bly was a bad leader, and I thought it went into that aspect of it a lot better than the other films. They didn't have Bly just as this awful leader, just more as an incompetent leader, which I think is more believable.
Yeah,
more engaging.
I also thought this film did their voyage better. I mean, the 62 version doesn't have it at all. In their boat.
Yeah.
The 35 one is fine, whatever. But the only problem with this film is that
they kill the girl.
yeah. Jeez. The only problem with this one is it's a foregone conclusion, so it still wasn't that interesting.
Oh yeah, because we've seen him in the courtroom, right?
We've seen him in the court. Yeah. Like, you're not adding anything new to that part of the story, even though it's a part worth telling because it's such an epic feat of seamanship.
Yeah.
But
I guess you want to know how they did it and whether any of them died along the way.
But they didn't. I suppose that was they could have made more out of that, which is that he got them all back, apart from that one guy who died on that island.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. They could have done a bit more with it. Even just another minute or so just put in through there to tell more of a story with it. I don't know. Like I made such a brilliant Mutiny on the Bounty film.
Well, we've already fleshed one out with the Muppets. So
yeah, there's a few different options here, aren't there? I think we're due another Bounty film.
Oh,
this came out
I know.
Nearly 40 years ago.
We're breaking pattern. Maybe there's one in the works.
Maybe.
Let's look it up. New Mutiny on the Bounty film.
I can't wait.
There was a TV movie in 2011.
TV movie.
I don't know why it was a TV. So it's though the appetite wasn't there for it.
Yeah, imagine.
It doesn't seem like there's one in the works, but maybe they're keeping it under wrap.
Oh well.
It's disappointing. Well, that's fine. That gives us time.
Yeah, it gives us time to work on our own Bounty movie. It'll be 4.5 hours long, and 40% of it will be on Tahiti.
And another 40% will be them settling on Pitcairn.
Yeah. And there'll be a bit at the end with real life interviews from actual islanders in Pitcairn who are all called like Christian and Brown.
And also Errol Flynn will be in it.
And Errol Flynn will be in it. and he'll be playing Christian, and he'll have the poshest accent you can possibly imagine. The most clipped, most BBC sounding voice that could possibly be seen on screen. I can't wait.
Wonderful.
I think I've given you all of my views.
Yeah.
It was all right.
Started off well. Again, until they got on the boat. Even a bit past 10 minutes into them sailing from England, I was still very much like, this is a great version.
Yeah.
I liked all the setup, all the exposition. We were at Christian's house, we were at Bly's house.
Yeah, we saw Bly's Little Children.
Yeah. They were good pals.
And I want to know about this thing with Christian and his cousin.
Yes, me too. Isabella.
Who names the Tahitian girl after his cousin who spurned him. So much more to tell. So overall, if we absolutely had to go, thumbs up or thumbs down, where are we all? Fernando?
Thumbs sideways. No,
I'm going to have
would
to
give
push you for an answer. Thumbs up.
Thumbs up, yes.
Claire?
I'm very thumb sideways on this one. It was, I don't think I can say it was good.
Can you say it was bad?
It's because it's relative to other bounty-like films. I feel like I can't say it was bad because those were worse. I don't want to put it in the same
overall
category.
film, maybe all films in the category are bad. That's okay.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I think this was bad.
But the synth.
What?
So we're thumbs up from Fernando, thumbs down from Claire. Laura?
1 up, 1 down.
Keep moving.
I'm going to need an answer from you, Laura.
Oh, thumbs up. I had a good time.
Yeah. I think all in all, I'm a thumbs up as well. But I guess we were all quite middling about it. An interesting film. Thank you for picking it, Laura.
Oh, you're welcome.
Wait, now we really have to watch the silent Australian movie. Well, the two silent, one of them is silent.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if the second one is silent as well.
Yeah, we're going to have to watch both of them.
Yes.
Mutiny Off the Bounty, 1910. Can look into that one.
I feel like we also need a newer film, an epic that tells the Passion of the Christ, a retelling, a telling of the Passion of the Christ, but epic, as in I want to make it compelling. I want to believe in Christ by watching this film.
Oh, I like it. That is an ambitious target.
Muppets, Passion of the Christ.
And who's Kermit?
Christ.
I think we know,
Kermit's Christ, okay.
Miss Piggy in this one.
Mary Magdalene?
No.
Doesn't quite sound right. We'll work on that one.
Got a lot of Muppets films to workshop.
Yes.
Shall I play the music?
I'm ready. I think it's Claire's turn to pick.
Yeah, I feel like I've not picked in ages.
No, you haven't, because you were the first in the last go-round. So we've had... You picked Les Visiteurs, and now we've had another 6 films without you picking any.
Wow. Well, I have chosen a film. I've had 6 films to decide. And so I'm going to make a panic decision, having not thought much about it, and choose With Nail and I.
Oh. Say again?
With Nail and I.
Oh, great. 1987.
Yeah, that's the one.